Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire. The ring of fire.
Citizens of Earth Orange, may I have your attention, please? I have been made to apologize by Actor Thomas for misleading you all and saying we're done all the DC stories for this universe. I'm sorry, and I hope you can forgive me. Your dear friend, Andrew.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Earth Orange, with me, Actor Thomas, and my good co-host and friend, Mr. Andrew.
Hello there.
Hello
there.
Now, this is, of course, officially episode number 7, but in reality it's episode number 6. And so, Andrew.
Hello.
Tell us what the story is going to be for today.
Well, we discussed this, and I think...
At length, may I say. At length.
Yeah, hours. well into the night. So we're at the end of our DC storyline for this season, aren't we?
Well, for these first 5, yes.
Yeah. So, obviously, with all good franchises, you have to go back to the start, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's going to be we're discussing a continuation of the Jim Gordon story, but
from episode number 1/2. It's going to get really confusing soon, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't worry, next season it'll all be fine, unless we do an intro to next season. So we were talking about that, and I think we're going to settle on doing a Riddler-centric story. Is that right?
Well, I've been kind of cowbelled into this, so I will do it just because you're looking at me in that way. So we will do it for you.
That way that makes him right. Okay, so don't worry, Jim Gordon's going to feature in it. So we're doing the Riddler.
All right.
Our first villain. He's shaking his head. He'll love it. Right.
Okay.
So should we just get on with it then? Start choosing.
Well, you go first.
Right. So how many acts do we have? Should we settle
2.
on that? 2?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Oh.
Because there was 2 for the first one. There's going to be 2 for this one.
Oh, right. Okay.
Simply down to the fact that I think it's quite nice when there's, for like a story like this where we had the 2 acts to begin with and they created the scenario and everything like that. It'd be nice to have the 2 acts to bring it either to the end or close to the end.
What do you mean, close to the end?
Well, just think, because this could potentially, if we do 3 acts, in those 3 acts we need to bring this whole thing to a close. I think it would be quite nice, because if we have 2 acts, there's always that potential that we could always leave it on a cliffhanger.
Oh, right, okay.
And I'm just wondering, that could be potential of what we could be doing here.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't really understand that, but we'll go with it. So, right, so the question now is, what is the centric of this story? So it's the Riddler. Are we going to pick up precisely where we left off with Jim Gordon?
He's gone mad, everyone. He's gone mad. Do you mean Jim and Tim?
Jim and Tim.
And Professor Enigma.
And so we shall pick up...
Well, I was going to do that, yes.
Right.
Evidently, you had different plans.
Well, I've got one idea. So we should definitely pick up from there.
Right.
So pick up from episode 1. That's really weird. So maybe we should do that for Act 1. And in Act 2, why don't we jump ahead?
No.
Okay.
We're not jumping ahead.
All right, we're not jumping ahead.
I'm putting my executive foot down on this one.
Okay.
We're not jumping ahead.
Okay. So if we're picking up from episode 1, what is the story about then? Is it about?
Well, it's still to do with the the robberies and everything like that, and what we found in his basement and the CCTV.
Okay, but we'll do it Riddler-centric.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay. In which case, are we allowed to backtrack then? And
what, do like a flashback?
Yeah, and reveal a bit more about the Riddler.
If you want to, yeah.
So
it's not a problem.
Should we say? So shall we say Act 1 is flashback, and then Act 2 is the continuation and the rounding off of that story.
Okay.
So, maybe we could call this a Riddler / Jim Gordon. Maybe the first act can be Riddler, second act can be Jim Gordon.
Okay. Look, yeah, that's not a problem. I don't mind. Whatever. Whatever works.
Whatever. It's gone from executive foot to whatever.
Well, no. It's just I'm just pleased that we've got a compromise here.
Right. So Act 1
Not
is
really
the
a
Riddler.
compromise. Is it?
Not really.
Not a compromise.
I didn't write down the scores, by the way. It's 3-2, isn't it? To you.
Yeah. That makes it look like it's 32 there, mate.
It's 32. Everyone wins. Right.
You want to put a line down there?
Oh, speaking of lines, we need to reveal that there isn't going to be a piece of paper with a line on it.
Right, so I know all of you wonderful listeners out there have been waiting for the day that merchandise comes out and you get a massive piece of paper with a black line down it and little words written on it with numbers saying, episode or issue number 1, 2, 3, 4. This was that storyline. I'm sure you have, but don't worry, you were creating it. You're going to print it off in your office.
I paid myself.
But I had a discussion with some people, and they were
his contact.
Yeah, and they were basically saying how in many ways that would be unrealistic to come to realisation. And so we are thinking about. Oh look, he's got his wallet out just to make sure it's all so he can pay me for the piece of paper before. No, but so what my plan is, it still may happen one day, but to make things a little bit more clearer for us after we've recorded these and everything like that, we're gonna get a folder and then put them all in complete order. So obviously you've got the episode number 2, which was the Jim Gordon and Tim Green investigation. Then you're going to have this episode as well, which will be those two, that storyline beginning and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously we're jumping quite a bit in the future in relation that you've got Batman's first mission in the early 2000s, and then you've got Superman's a couple of things in the 1990s, I think. I can't remember the exact date that we said.
90s,
and obviously they're going to be really kind of. And then obviously when it comes to the Marvel ones next week, it will be the same. It'll be, and then when it does, in the end, when we do decide to, however we decide to format it for the listeners and the wonderful people that do listen to this, to kind of get a clear idea of how it's laid out, then we've got it all already laid out in a folder for us because it's. I tried to create the piece of paper the other day, and even with the only a few episodes that we've actually done already, I was lost.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
So I was just thinking.
You should see the notebook at the end. It's like trying to type it up is like what is happening.
Yeah, definitely. So we so that obviously that's gonna that probably won't affect anyone for a very long time. But I just thought we would let you be kept abreast of what's going on.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there are some people who are looking forward to that.
I'm sure they are. But if anyone is in dire need of a big piece of paper with a black line along it with my scribbles along it, email us and I will. I'll endeavour to.
It will cost though, won't it?
I will. Yeah, it will be like kind of 1p or something like that. But if you send me 1p, it will be fine. And then I'll get that sent over to you ASAP. But it will. You'll have to print it off yourself. I'll just email you it, and then you print it off yourself. I'm not doing that for you. Stuff that. But
So what is that? What are they paying you for then?
The piece of paper with the black line, which I'll have created already.
Oh right, I see. And you're going to photocopy it or something.
Well, no, and then it'll be emailed over to them, and then they can get the
original.
They can get the massive the really long bit of wallpaper.
Yeah. Are you going to sign it?
Well, yeah, me and you will both sign it with really really nice. What's that? Like really wavy writing. What's that called?
Calligraphy.
Yeah, calligraphy written at the top.
Right.
Earth orange.
Right. Okay. Oh, that sounds beautiful.
I think so.
Right, let's get on with it because we've probably wasted 20 minutes.
No. It's only like 9 minutes. It's fine.
All right.
But carry on. Look,
a bit more then.
Right. No, it's fine. So
I can't remember who goes first. Basically.
That's you.
You sure?
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
because
Wonder Woman. It was you.
no, but last time when we did Jim and Tim last time, I went first.
Oh, you want to do it that way?
Yeah, and because obviously then it gives me a little bit of time to think of something.
We need to pick the elements.
Okay, you do elements.
Right. Oh, okay. Do you not want to do it together?
No. But
Just write them down silently.
well, no. You tell me what your first element is, and then I can give you a second element.
Right.
Mine's oxygen, by the way. Is that an element?
So it has to. Yeah, of course it is.
I don't know.
No, it's a.
No,
it isn't. How do we not know this?
It's on the periodic table, isn't it?
Why don't? Yes, oxygen is an element.
Okay, that's fine then. Okay, sorry. We're just going massively off track here. I am sorry.
Right. Yeah, it is because
Yeah,
okay, right. God help me. Right. So that was really bad.
Come on, carry on.
This is a struggle. This is so.
I reckon we need to, if we're going to do the flashback, we need to show some, even though like obviously it may be like two separate flashbacks. So I reckon
there's only one flashback.
No, I reckon.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I reckon. But in our act one, there should be two flashbacks. Maybe one where everything's going really lovely and well for Professor Enigma and his missus.
Right.
And then another flashback when things start going a bit sour.
Okay. So.
Or maybe one about when they first meet or something like that, and then another one is about when kind of things get a little bit more dark and all that sort of stuff. That's just my opinion, but if you want to change that, that's not a problem.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have to show that transformation, don't we?
Yes.
From what happened. Mm-hmm. Did we settle on him having a wife? Is that right? Did we take that from my story?
Yeah, I think so.
And she's pregnant, is that right?
Well, you said she was pregnant.
Yeah.
I was umming and ahhing about that, but we can...
Ooh, well, we have to decide, really, don't we? We can't have two divergent timelines, can't we? Do you not want to?
I myself personally don't want to, but obviously it's...
Well, we have to go what we settled on. I can't remember what we settled on. That's bad, isn't it?
Okay, let's just say... let's just say she's not then. And if
Is this our first retcon? Write to us. Not sure.
If we do say, if it does say that she's pregnant in it, I don't think we do. Because I think what it is we do the whole thing about the because obviously I know for a fact we definitely took the idea of him assaulting her, but I don't know if. Because obviously I know in your original story she was pregnant, but I can't remember if
I don't think we changed it.
I don't think we took that over to the actual story, or did we?
I think we did.
Okay, well, let's say she did then. Let's say she's pregnant.
So you can include that if you want.
Okay.
Right. So, are we going to say it ends on a cliffhanger?
No.
Right. So we can leave that up to choice then.
Yeah.
This is quite tough to pick some elements for this.
So what have we got so far?
Right, so let's think about the original story. So
should have done this before we started recording.
It's alright, we'll edit this out.
Okay, go on.
So there's a jewellery store.
Yep.
There's jewellery store robberies, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. There's 6 in one night. Drugs selling to his students.
So maybe we should write all that down then. Are we going to explain all that? We're going to make sure we get all that in. So we have to explain the drugs, how we got mixed up with these jewellery stores. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What other elements are there?
I know you kept on going on about the comic book guy from over the road.
And how... Because I mentioned that he's known as the Riddler.
Yeah.
So you can talk about... obviously there's his basement full of like scraps of literature and riddles and stuff. So we can talk about how he got that obsession if you want. Mm-hmm. So that's all the elements there, I think, that we need to answer.
Have you mentioned about the comic book guy or not? Because I know you really liked him last time.
Did I?
Yeah, you kept on going about you wanted to bring him back because he seemed like such a.
Why was he so cool?
Well, no, I don't know if you said he was cool, but you said you could bring him back as something really important later on.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes, that can feature in Act 2 actually.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Also remember, Jim's not married.
That's right. Yeah.
And he lives in an apartment, not in the suburbs.
Bless him.
But remember, it is his first week, so not too harsh.
Right. What's some elements for Act 2? Should we have it involve some kind of chase?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've already got an idea for Act 2 already.
Well, okay.
I won't spoil it.
So it can be foot or car or whatever.
Yep.
Or hovercraft. Preferably not hovercraft.
Okay.
Is that enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Oh, also, actually, one thing,
Yep.
no one can die.
No one can die?
No.
Oh.
Not yet.
So no deaths?
No. Just because I think it's... If you start having people die, it's... Yeah, because obviously, remember, we have to make sure that both of those... Well, all three of those characters have to live.
Right.
Okay?
All three? So Tim as well? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, because obviously he has to, because he's in later on in a few years, isn't he?
No, he's not.
He is.
No, he's not.
He is.
He's not in the Batman story.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Isn't he?
No.
Yes, he is. He's the guy who gets... He's the police officer.
No, remember, I put him in, but we went to your story where Jim and Tim aren't even in it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain. Because I did that whole thing with the chase down, didn't I, with Tim? But we went to your Valentine story.
No, I think he's in that. I'm sure he's in that. Let me have a look. Where's my phone?
I promise you, I didn't. I've wrote these notes up today.
All right.
Didn't get mentioned.
Fine. Okay. Right. Okay. You do your section, and
Right.
I'll have a look. Let me get my phone out.
Much to my chagrin, he got sidelined.
I'm sure. No.
Brief intermission.
Do you know that song? What's that song from?
That's a hamster song, isn't it? A hamster dance.
No, it's from. Okay, it's actually technically not in your notes, but
The notes are God.
no, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
well, we'll just carry on then.
Right,
He
okay.
can't be killed.
Right. Okay. We're not killing Tim. Don't worry.
Good.
Kill Tim. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So Act 1
Yep.
of the Riddler Jim Gordon story.
Yep.
Start off with Mr. Enigma.
Professor.
He's not a professor yet.
Oh, of course, because you're doing the flashback. Sorry, I apologise. I'm going to shut up now.
So, let's think. What would be a cool place? Alright. Okay, Edward Nigma.
He's going to be his same name as his father. Okay. Or his son's going to have the same name as the dad.
Well, I haven't mentioned the son yet, have I?
I know, but that's what he's actually called,
Oh.
isn't it?
Ah, that's another point, actually.
Go on in.
Right. Okay, I've got an idea for that.
Okay, fine, carry on.
Edward Nigma, his name is.
Right.
So this is Mr. Edward Nigma.
Okay.
Now, Nigma, growing up, he was he's always had like learning disabilities and things like that, and slight autism and stuff, which always kind of put him on the edge. It always kind of made it hard for him to make friends in high school and things like that. But he did okay. He wasn't a genius or anything, but he did have a lot of curious fascinations and things like that. But he did all right, and he got into college. And he got through that way. I'm thinking here. I'm thinking how I'm going to do this. He's always been interested in wordplay and literature and things like that. He likes to read books, definitely, especially stuff by like Lewis Carroll or anything like that. That is nonsense and riddles and stuff like that. Anyway, during college, he made a couple of friends and stuff. He had a girlfriend who met there. I'm trying to think how I can do this. So he was working at a toy store. He worked at a toy store, and that's where he met his soon-to-be wife. That was just getting some extra money through college and stuff.
Okay, it's like a part-time job.
Yeah. And that's where he met her, and they were both kind of a bit kooky and stuff, so they got along. And I don't know, she kind of inspired him to knuckle down a bit more on his studies and things like that. And he got through college much better than he got through high school and things like that. And he stayed on and soon moved up to a professor at Gotham University, studying, teaching. I think I said what he taught last time.
Well, he said he taught kind of like literature or something like that. Yeah.
So he was teaching literature.
Yeah.
So. Let me think. Okay. All right. So let's give this girlfriend a name. Let's call her Jane. So her name's Jane.
Okay.
Anyway, soon they started running into money problems. The toy store closed down, and he was made redundant. And his teaching job. Well, no, obviously, I guess he wouldn't work there anymore, would he? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But his teaching job certainly wasn't paying enough for both of them, and especially.
Well, how about you say she got the sack?
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So the toy store closed down, and she was made redundant. Thank you for that. And they just moved into a house together, and so they were really struggling for money. And Nigma started talking to one of his students. Well, no, let's say this. Nigma caught one of his students doing drugs on the campus one day, and he approached him and confronted them, and instead of like handing them in or telling he inquired about it and where he got them from and things like that. How much he buys them for and stuff like that. And that kind of led him down this road. And eventually, he was picking up marijuana and stuff like that to sell to the kids. And he started trying the stuff himself. Everything from like LSD to weed and things like that. And he started to realise the sort of psychoactive properties of these drugs and how they can open the mind. And he started to think how this could be applied to literature and how this can sort of expand and bring the worlds of literature to life and sort of take you to a new level of creativity and things like that. And so that's when he started doling it out to the kids, and he used it as a study method as well. There was a very close circle of kids, which he I'd just like to call them. Oh, what was the name? Is it the Dead Prophets? Yeah, I'm going to call them the Dead Prophets in reference to the society of the same name. So these circle of kids were called the Dead Prophets alongside Enigma, and they used drugs of all kinds and explored literature through that way and stuff like that to open their minds. However, this caught the attention of the mob. Eventually, Enigma was getting a bit too big for his boots, and was possibly even sold drugs to the wrong person, maybe one of the relatives of one of the organised crime families. Anyway, he ended up kind of at their whim, at their knife point, and they threatened him, and they said if you carry on, then something's going to happen to your wife. So he was basically to do anything to get out of their grasp. He asked them what he can do, and they said, well, there's we've got some competition. There's the families have got establishments such as jewellery stores and things that you could hit up for us. And he had to agree. He felt like he had no other choice. He was in trouble. And so on the very first night that he did it, he hit 6 jewellery stores, and for his own little amusement and trying to hide his identity, he left the blue R behind as a small riddle. But of course, the rest is history, as he was caught on CCTV across the street. And I think that covers all the bases. Drugs, the Riddler, the obsession. I think that covers everything.
Okay.
And that's the end of my Act 1.
Okay.
Let me just note this down. So,
Right. Okay. So my Act 1 for the flashbacks of why Professor Enigma does what he does. So, the prof. This is the first flashback is going to be set about a year before this all happens.
Okay.
And he and his so I'll change it up a little bit.
Okay.
His name's Oscar.
Oscar
Enigma.
Oscar Enigma.
Yeah.
Enigma.
That's what I said, Enigma.
No, it's just Enigma.
All right. Sorry.
Oscar Enigma.
Okay. And his
Mouthful.
his newly married wife.
Okay.
She's
got a name?
Yeah, her name's Jane. I'll borrow that from you.
Sweet. Okay.
And they're very happy. They, they're very much in love. They do the whole kind of, walking along the park, holding hands and all that sort of stuff. They've just come back from honeymoon. It's all very lovely. And her parents have got them a year renting out this one house that they can have. So they don't have to worry about anywhere, and then he can save and pay. Her parents are going to be paying the rent for this 1 year, and then after that, it's obviously they're all on their own. So they've got a year to save up.
Okay.
He is a junior. He's just been promoted to a junior professor at Gotham University, and she works as one of the senior librarians.
Oh yeah, okay.
In the Gotham University libraries. So they both have a great love of literature and poems and all manner of things like that, and they're everything's going lovely and everything like that. There's one dark secret for Jane Enigma.
Oh yeah.
And I say it's dark. It's he used to love anything to do with that late great actress Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
And she would, any time she could, she would love to imagine that she was Marilyn. Up to the point where she gets all together all the drugs that supposedly she had around her when she died, and tried to, mix and match and see what effect that she was actually looking for when she died.
Right.
Unfortunately, she got the drugs from a shady individual. And when Oscar found out about this, he goes ballistic.
Right.
Because he's like, there's so many other people you could get it from. So why have you gone to this guy who's connected to all these dodgy deals and the mob and all this sort of stuff? So he goes and he, kind of faces off with this guy, and this guy hands him out a beating.
All right. Okay.
Okay. And
so Oscar goes to confront this guy, and Oscar gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. And there's only one thing that will stop this guy from killing Oscar, and that is him. He's obviously recently found out that through Jane that Oscar works at the university, and he's got a plentiful load of customers that he could get.
Oh, I see.
So, as he's beating him, he basically says, "Look, if you want me to stop this, just say that you'll help me sell my drugs to these students, and first of all, I'll give your wife the good stuff, and I'll stop from, I'll never hurt you again." Okay. Now, flashback number 2. Okay.
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 There's a flash forward.
No.
Oh, this is even further flashback, right? Okay.
Yeah. That's a flash forward. This is now a flashback.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So this is between. Yeah. This is.
Flashback's the flashback.
Yeah. I don't know. And then it's the day. It's the day before the night of the robberies.
Right. That's a flash forward.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Anyway, go on.
No, because the original one's a flash forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this is a flashback from the flash forward. But originally, it's still technically a flash forward from the original event.
Right.
It makes sense in my head.
So
It's
this
fine.
is the day before the robberies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what Oscar's been doing is he's been doing what he's doing what this drug dealer's been telling him to do, sell drugs to the students. But first of all he's been taking bits out, kind of like he's taking a little bit out so he can save his wife from having to buy from this drug dealer. And he's also been taking a
taking a cut, has he?
Yeah, and taking a bit of cut off money as well.
Ooh.
So, and the drug dealer, who I'm going to call Big Baz. All right, I'll just call him Baz.
No. Oh, okay, Baz.
Okay.
No, Big Baz. We'll go with Big Baz.
Okay, Big Baz.
Taking cut of drugs and money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some Big Baz.
Yeah. And he's recently found out about this, and he's that's why he's making Oscar do these robberies.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So he's the deal has been changed, and he's upped it a bit more. It's been like, right.
Yeah, basically what he's saying is, like, you need to there's a couple of things in this jewelry store that I really, really want for my wife.
Right.
Big Baz's wife.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend any money on it. I'm not going to get my hands dirty on this. You owe me. The only way to get yourself into my good books is by doing this.
Yeah.
The only problem is, Big Baz doesn't tell Oscar, out of the 6 jewelry stores that is owned by this one company, which store holds
that's clever.
the particular things that Baz's wife wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, he is obviously planning how to do this. Obviously, drive up, have the crowbar, break the windows, go in, search, hopefully find what he's looking for. If not, obviously get out there quickly. But he wants to prove to, he wants it's not that he wants to get caught, but he doesn't want Big Baz to get away with this.
Right, okay.
So that's why he leaves the piece of paper with the
that makes sense.
Yeah. And that is the end of my Act 1.
That's very clever. I like that one. I like it a lot. However, I've got a very interesting idea.
Fine.
I'm going to talk to you at the end.
Yeah, no, that's fine, mate. Carry on. This is what we do. This is, the collaboration of
it's very inspiring.
Earth Orange is a wonderful thing.
So it leaves clue. Ooh, I like that a lot. Right, I've really got to up my game then for Act 2, because that was...
Well, you don't actually.
No, that was great. That was very good. Right, so for this one...
I will let you off the fact that we did say 2 flashbacks, but I'll let you off that one.
Yeah. I kind of moulded mine.
Yeah, I know you did. That's fine. I could see in yours where there's naturally there was meant to be a flashback.
Suppose,
and but obviously I'll let you off.
Thank
that
you.
one.
I was thinking that as you were saying that. I was like, shit, he's actually segmented it. I didn't segment mine.
That's fine, mate. It's all good. Carry on.
So in this next one, we've got to have a chase.
Yes.
And
it has to be now, like, kind of more Jim and Tim. Isn't it? Yeah?
Yeah, Tim and Tim.
Yeah.
Right, so obviously this takes place... so Jim has just watched the tapes, and he's recognised Nigma, who we saw in the police station, who they both exchanged glances with. Okay. Alright. Okay. So, right, Jim doesn't want to waste another second.
Okay.
So he's watched the tape, and he gets on the phone to Tim, and he explains everything to Tim. But Tim is not interested. It's too late at night. and Jim is a rookie, and he thinks that he's just been too oversensitive with it all. So, yeah, Tim puts the phone down, and I wonder if that's been picked up.
I'm sure it is. It's fine, don't worry. Carry on.
The screams of children. It's all good.
Carry on. We are, just so you know, we are recording this near a children's nursery. So we are sorry that you're hearing this, but carry on, Andrew.
Just adds effect. Right. So. Right. So he leaves Jim. Basically, he's like. In fact, he tells Jim to leave it, but Jim can't leave it. So he is forced to go out on his own. And he obviously knows where Nigma lives. So, yeah, he grabs all he needs, a gun and the badge, and he drives over to the house. And the door is open. And he comes in, and it looks like the place has been robbed, basically. Like, everything's smashed up. And he calls for both of them. He calls for Jane and Edward, and he doesn't get any response. He kind of stalks through the place. Should I do it that way? So he checks the basement again.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one up there. There's a sign that someone has packed very hastily.
Okay.
How do I convey this? Wow. How do I convey this? Alright, okay. Okay, yeah. So the place is just, an absolute disaster. Then he hears the sound of a car engine starting up. And hastily speeding away from the driveway. And
Carry on.
And as he looks out the window, he sees Edward, Mr. Professor Nigma, speeding away. So he jumps in his car, Jim jumps in his car, and the chase commences there. And they're speeding through Gotham, and I'm not sure if there's any way for Jim to get help at this point. He wouldn't have a mobile, would he? Would he have a police radio in his car? Not really. Would he?
No, because it would be if it's his own personal car, then I doubt it.
Yeah, and he's only a rookie as well. All right, okay, yeah, he's on his own. So he's chasing Nigma through the streets of Gotham. And it's not clean. They're smashing lampposts and fire hydrants and all kinds of stuff.
All kind of jazz.
And I wonder if it could end up there, or should it end up at the?
It's your story.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it. So they're speeding through the streets of Gotham, and it ends up leading to an abandoned toy store, which it's all what once was colourful and quite welcoming is now quite dark and rotted away and things like that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it hasn't been abandoned for that long, but it's certainly more menacing now it's been abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And there are stories about what goes on in that Toy Story. In that Toy Story?
Where's Woody?
Shout
Where's Woody?
Shout out to Toy Story. In that toy store. So Enigma slows down and pulls his car and runs into the building, and Jim does the same, cautiously slows down and enters the building, which is like pitch black inside. He's worried that Enigma has possibly kidnapped his wife or hurt her in some way. And he's calling out to him, trying to persuade him to give up. And he stumbles upon a room, and there are candles, and it's reminiscent of the basement, where there's pages of all kinds, like sort of littered throughout the room, and there's the occasional like puppet and weird toy littered around as well.
Toileted.
Littered.
Oh right.
Littered.
Sorry, it sounded like you said toileting. What the heck?
There's toilets in there.
Right. Okay.
So there's toys like strewn about and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's also drug paraphernalia, like there's like old school like opium pipes and hookahs and things like that.
This is where Andrew shows us his knowledge of historical drug use, and he's actually rolling up his sleeve of his arm now.
Right,
his
sleeve
of his arm, his sleeve of his shirt, and just showing me all his
my muscles and
and it's a horrible.
I've rolled up my sleeve of my arm.
Yeah, it's a horrible image. It's not nice.
The sinews of my bones.
Right, sorry, carry on.
And after stumbling on this, out of the darkness come a group dressed in masks, resembling like...
If you say it.
Go on.
No, if you say it.
Well, they resemble literature characters.
Oh, thank goodness.
What? Oh, God.
Oh, I thought you were going to go somewhere else then. But carry on.
Right.
I'll tell you later on.
Discuss this later. Resembling like literature characters. So you've got like... who can we have?
Charles Dickens?
Yeah. What would a mask of Charles Dickens look like? No, in fact, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll have things like that. So we've got like Edgar Allan Poe, because he's got quite a striking appearance, hasn't he?
I've never seen him.
Charles Dickens, haven't you?
No. Oh, Shakespeare?
Right. Shakespeare,
yeah.
Fantastic one there. And things like that.
Who else is like famous writers?
Yeah, but they've got to have a good striking appearance as well. I mean, I wouldn't be able to describe Hans Christian Andersen to you.
How about your man? What's his face?
He's got eyes.
No, Conan Doyle.
Sure. Okay.
He had a striking face, didn't he?
I don't know.
I'm sure he did.
Well, yeah, stuff like that, basically.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Masks that resemble them, and Jim finds himself surrounded, and eventually he gets drugged, and he passes out. Where should I take this? Okay. All right. So he gets drugged like chloroform or something, and he wakes up halfway through some kind of setting up of a ritual that's going on. His feet are bound, but his hands aren't bound yet. And you can hear the voices. They sound really young, these voices. They're obviously the college kids. And they're arguing amongst themselves and things like that. And in fact, as he wakes up, one of the kids is writing a message on his stomach with a Sharpie or something like that. And he manages to sort of surprise them, and he knocks this one down, and very sort of haphazardly kind of hops out of the room with his feet bound.
They're not very good at this, are they?
No, they're not very good.
You'd think they would
They're
bound
only
his
kids.
arms.
Well, they're only kids. They don't know what they're doing.
All right, fine.
He knows that Nigma's in the room as well. He heard his voice, but as soon as Jim sort of jumped up, there was a slamming of a door and stuff like that. He's still a bit hazy. Things are a bit blurry, but he's managing to escape, and he like falls down the stairs and all kinds of stuff, and just to get out of the room. And eventually, they lose him in the darkness of this toy store, and he struggles his way out into the streets of Gotham, and manages to unbind his feet. And he gets in his car, sort of drives a small distance. He's in no state, and he's smashing into stuff, and eventually he just crashes into like a lamppost or something and passes out, and he wakes up the next day. And that's kind of it. The epilogue to that is...
Ooh, epilogue.
He finds out the next day that Jane has actually... what happened was, she... Whilst Edward was at the police station, she had packed up her stuff and left. And she would later change... I'm going to go for this because this is an idea I've been thinking of. She would later change her surname back to her maiden name, which is Tetch. Tetch. No, I don't know if you know that name. Oh, right, okay. Possible setup for later. Anyway, yeah, she moves away from Gotham.
Okay.
Changes her surname. And Nigma is not heard of again for several years.
Okay.
The selling of drugs stops. All that stops. There's no more jewelry store robberies with an R. And the kind of this nickname, the Riddler, which has been going on in the streets, that all disappears. Until several years later, when some very familiar iconography reappears, and that's where I'm going to end it.
Okay. A couple of moments to write that up?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yes.
God, I struggled through that.
Can I just say, I apologise for all the knocking and screaming of children. I didn't realise it was that they were going to have actually their lunchtime at this point.
Oh.
But yes,
It was badly timed, wasn't it?
it was. See, but yes. Well, you may need to find somewhere else to record. Who knows?
Oh, let me just make a note. This basement. I've just thought
Of where?
In Nigma's house.
Okay.
I'm going to say it was completely like stripped of everything that was in there. All the papers and things, that was completely empty.
What after?
When he returned, yeah.
What when
Jim returned to the house.
in Act 2? Or,
In Act 2, yeah.
Okay, so
it's
not
completely
not after your not after when he wakes up.
No, yeah,
Okay.
It was
Okay.
stripped. It was stripped then.
All right.
Since Nigma's to find.
So let's just.
Do you want me to remind you?
Yeah, just give me like the.
So do you want me to give you the day before?
No. If you just tell me the what I need to do,
elements.
I
You
need to do
have
a chase of some sort, don't I?
Car or foot. Or...
Okay, fine.
I didn't put the comic book guy in.
That's fine.
No, it's not.
Don't worry, it's fine. I'll forgive you.
No, you can't. Right, that's a point off. Mate.
Oh, for freak's sake, we're not doing this bollocks again. Right, okay.
I didn't put him in. Oh, I feel terrible. I really wanted that character to be something.
Okay, why don't you just say he was one of the people in the... Actually, no, that sounds a bit weird.
Oh, I'm going to have to come back to him. Oh, I can't believe I forgot. I hate myself for that.
Don't worry, it's fine. Not a problem, it's all good.
Right, so the comic book guy
Oh, God.
and the chase. That's what you got to remember.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, right, so it's the next day. So this is... Sorry.
Next day.
Thomas Watts's... Thomas's Act 2 even, sorry. Don't know what's going on. It's the next day. And
So he watched the tape and he was like, right, I'll sort that tomorrow.
Well, no, it's more down to the fact that by the time he watched that tape, it was 11:30 at night. He thought there's kind of like by the time he contacts Tim and his superiors, it's gonna it's not worthwhile. Let's just wait until I'll go in early tomorrow.
Right.
So normally he's meant to go in at say 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. This time he goes in at 6:30.
Right.
Okay. So he's there at least an hour and a half before he's meant to be. Mm-hmm. Okay. He goes in and he knows for a fact that the day sergeant usually turns up at least half an hour, 40 minutes before the night sergeant goes off shift. Right. Okay. So he goes in there and he's waiting outside the office. It says, Sarge, you know the case that me and Tim were dealing with yesterday? After I went off duty, I discovered a bit more information. He lets him see the tape, all that sort of stuff, and he gives them a brief outline of the investigation so far. Mm-hmm. So the sergeant's like, why didn't you bring this to me beforehand? It's obviously, it sounds as if this is quite an important case, and it could be something, and I said, well, me and Tim weren't sure about this when we were on duty, but it's only since I went off duty that I discovered certain pieces of information. So sorry, Sarge. I said, well, look, I'll call Tim in early. So he says, look, he picks up the phone, dials, and says, Tim, it's your boss. Get in the precinct now. There's, we're onto something. He said, all right, okay, fair enough. So, the sergeant and Jim and Tim, when Tim finally arrives, they go into a briefing room with another officer. And it's like, okay, look, this is what we know, and the plan is this. Tim and, let's call him Joe.
All right.
Tim and Joe are going to go with the sergeant to get Enigma.
Yeah.
Okay? And Jim, you're going to go and have a word with the comic book shop owner.
All right.
And the jewelry store owner.
Yeah.
Because Jim's not impressed with that. He's like, "Come on, Sarge, I was the one who gave you that information. Without me, we wouldn't have any clues." So look, you're a rookie. Let the big boys handle this now. Give it a year and maybe. But at the moment, we need people that we can rely on. Mm-hmm. And so, what ends up happening is Joe and Jim go off, and Joe and Jim go off.
Oh right, okay.
And they're still in the station, but they go off. And Jim does something that he would never ever thought he would ever do, or ever is so out of character. He uses his truncheon and clouts.
Oh my God.
Joe. And so he gets knocked out and gets put into one of the cubicles in the toilets.
Yeah.
And then Jim uses a coin and he shows it to be locked and all that sort of stuff. And so Jim then runs back out to where the car park is and where the sergeant and Tim are waiting. And he says, look, Joe's just been violently sick in the toilet, so I don't think he'll be able to make it. He said, why don't I go instead of him with you, and he'll go to the comic book store and the jewelry store.
Right.
So they're driving off. They're driving down the road, and they go to Enigma's house, and hang on. Have you finished? Hang on.
Yeah, go on.
I need to. What was her name?
Jane.
Jane. Thank you. So they get to the door, and they knock on the door, and Jane answers, and she says, "Look," and the sergeant's like, "Mrs. Enigma, can we please talk to your husband Oscar?" He says, "Yeah, sure, that's not a problem. Just I'll just go down to the basement and knock on the door and ask him to come up." And in the kitchen, on the kitchen table, you've got 4 or 5 full boxes.
Okay.
Full of what they recognise as the pieces of paper and all the literature that was put all over his basement. It looks as if he's clearing it all out.
Right, okay.
And after a couple of seconds, Jane comes back up the stairs and says, "He'll be back up. He'll be up in a minute. He just needs to finish off packing up this box, and he'll be right up." So she said, "Look, why don't you guys go into the front room, and I'll make you a cup of tea, and I'll bring it through to you." So the sergeant and Tim are like, "Oh yeah, thank you very much." They go in there and sit down, and Jim's still sort of standing, kind of in the doorway between the kitchen and the front room. And as she's busily making cups of teas and stuff like that, Jim notices a figure running down the backyard, going over the fence, and running down. And he thinks that's the sort of kind of, the white shirt and the grey trousers that Enigma was wearing yesterday. So he runs out the back door, and he recognises it when he can see it's him. So he starts running after him, and he yells to the sergeant and Tim to come after him. And so they're running down these back alleys, and Oscar's throwing kind of every dust cans, rubbish cans and all that sort of stuff in Jim's way so he can get away. And after kind of going down maybe 6 or 7 alleys, he goes onto the main road, and he runs across the road, and Jim loses sight of him. So Jim's like, "Shit, how have I done this? And so he gets on his radio and says, "Officer Gordon to Officer Green, lost suspect, last seen on this road, blah, blah, blah." And so they were like, kind of, crap, where would he go? And then they remember that they mentioned about the CCTV from the comic book store.
Uh-huh.
And the sergeant's like, "Well, do you reckon Joe's gone over there to get a statement, potentially?" I said, maybe not. I'm not gonna lie to you here, Sarge. I told a bit of a porky pie.
Oh, did he confess, does he?
I sort of knocked him out. And he said, "What do you mean you knocked him out?" I said, "Well, I sort of knocked him out in the toilet, and I've locked him in the cubicle." And he said, "Why have you done that?" I said, "Well, because I wanted to go on. I wanted to nick Enigma." And he said, "Wait." I said, "Right, okay, look, you two are coming with me to make sure that comic book guy is safe." And then we're going to talk about this when we get back to the station, because this is unbelievable, and you're not even worthy of wearing that badge. That's disgraceful what you've done. So he's like, "Yeah, all right, sorry, Sarge." And so they go to the comic book store, and the sergeant and Jim knock on the house door. No answer. Tim goes down to the shop. Even though the sign says it's closed, all the lights are on. And you think that's a bit suspicious. And you soon realise that the sergeant sends Jim around the back, and you realise that the back door to the shop into the storeroom has been opened. Like, it's been forcibly opened. You can tell it's been, And so Jim gets his gun out and he radios saying, Officer Gordon to Officer Green, there's a situation. I've gained entry through the back of the store. If you and the sergeant would mind coming around and giving me a bit of backup. So he's there with his gun and all that sort of stuff, getting ready. And they go in, and they notice just behind the counter, the comic book guy, who I'm going to call Drew, is he's on the floor, and Nigma is standing there over him, like threatening him with.
Oh right, okay.
Threatening him. Well, he's got a knife in one hand, and then a full syringe of something in the other, and he's basically saying, "Look, whichever one you want, I can give you, but you're going to give me what I want, which is the evidence that you've shown the cops that I was a part of this crime. So you need to do it." But Drew's not doing it. Drew's sticking to his guns. He's like, "I'm a true patriot. I've done what I think's right. I'm true to the flag of the USA." Okay. And so in the end, Jim's sort of saying, "Look, Oscar, it's me, it's Jim, we spoke yesterday. No one's in trouble. We just want to make sure that everyone gets out of this situation safely." By this point, Tim has he didn't go around the back. At this point he just kicks the front door of the shop in.
That's classic Tim.
Yeah, and he's pointing the gun and all. The sergeant's behind Jim with his gun pointed. And so Oscar's like, oh crap, I've got 3 guns pointing at me here. So what he does is he says, "I've got a little experiment for you. Which one of these, in a literal way, do you think would cause more harm? A falling knife, or a falling full syringe of the purest, unadulterated
drug
ecstasy
okay.
in the world?"
Oh, ecstasy, okay.
And then as soon as it lands, I'll just push the plunger in, and it'll go into this man's system. And this stuff, according to my old mafia boss, is like the purest, that it can kill people.
Right. Okay.
Don't remember he was, that was the reason, he used to work with a drug dealer, didn't he?
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah.
You're making the notes.
I know, yeah, but okay, all right.
Okay.
Can't wait to get into this. Right, go on.
And so, in the end, Jim's kind of like thinking, right, look, how about you put those down on the floor, I'll put away my gun, okay? And we can talk about this as men. So Jim puts his gun away, and Oscar puts the knife down. He puts it on the counter, okay? Yeah. So, and then what happens is that the sergeant sort of had enough of this. So he gives Tim the nod to grab the knife. And then the sergeant shoots, with a really good aim, shoots the syringe out of Oscar's hands. And obviously the drugs just splash all over, over Oscar and Drew. But Oscar is arrested by the 3 cops and taken back to the station, and the sergeant just kind of talks to the comic book guy and says, "Look, thank you very much for all your hard work. You've helped us solve a really difficult case. So thank you very much. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you, please don't hesitate to let us know." And that's the end.
So Enigma gets taken in, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I've got it. I fucking got it. Right. Oh, you're not getting away that easy. Right, okay, cool. So, right, let's merge these.
Okay.
Right, your Act 1 was genius. I don't know where you got this Marilyn Monroe thing from, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Okay, so all of my act, so both of my flashbacks.
Right.
Or not.
Well, I'm fighting for survival here.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, is there anything you want to say before? Like, is there any bits that you definitely want to keep, or any bits that you really liked? No.
Not that I really like. One thing I will say is I don't like. It sounds really bad to say, but it's where did you? What was your one? It said.
Well, I doubt you could read that.
No. Okay. I liked. I'm not massively into my thing about her being in the work in the library. I liked your thing about the her working in the toy store and then it being closed down and all that sort of stuff. I like that. That's the part. I did like that part of your story.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Because I was thinking.
Okay.
As you were saying about the comic store, I was thinking, what if I changed that toy store to a comic store, and it was actually that comic store there that they used to both work at.
Okay. I can do that.
Only because.
But then wouldn't the comic book? Wouldn't Drew know him?
Yeah. It would. I'm going to go into that a bit.
Okay, fine. Right. Okay, fine.
Although that would change
the whole dynamic.
My whole Act 2 takes place in that toy store, kind of. Right. So let's. Oh, this is tough. This is so complicated now. Because I think they can merge together, but it's like we've got all these puzzle pieces, and we've just got to find out how they go together. Right. One thing I definitely want to keep is Jane's obsession with Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
And that's how he gets into the whole drug thing. I like that a lot.
Right.
So let me write that down.
Okay.
So but basically, what I was thinking of. So we go with the whole Big Baz thing.
Oh, yeah, the drug guy.
Yeah.
I like him. I like Big Baz. Big Bad Baz.
However, I was thinking it gets to a point where Oscar won't take it anymore, and he basically creates like a concoction of drugs and administers it to Big Baz, and it basically sends him mad.
Okay.
And that's how he sort of gets rid of that problem. However.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I was going to say he kills him, but we've got a rule of no one can die.
No, no one can die.
However, so Oscar takes over that operation, but then he gets in trouble with the mob, and that's how it leads into the jewellery thing.
Right, okay.
I like the idea of it could be any 6 stores, and that's why he robbed all 6.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he was looking for.
Yeah.
But can we say that's a mob order, and not from Big Bad?
Yeah, sure. No problem. That's fine.
Right. So.
He well likes this.
I do. It was really cool. I really like that Marilyn. I don't know where you got that from.
I'm not. Should I tell you? I watched a documentary about her when I got home after work last night.
What was the documentary about?
About her, the last couple of hours of her life.
Oh, that's good inspiration. That was.
I think it was on like kind of Channel 4 or something like that. Not Channel 4, like one of the Channel 5s.
Yeah. Concoction of drugs. Trouble with mafia. So Robert George saw for a very particular.
That the head of the mafia or head of the mob wanted for his wife or something like that, you know. And you know, it's almost like
Cool.
Okay.
I also like the cry for help. Using the R.
Oh yeah. Okay.
As a kind of like, I want you to find me.
Yeah, and then I can get out of this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to create incongruency, but we'll see.
Right.
Cool.
I think we've covered Act 1, so let's go. Yeah, that's Act 1.
I just want to talk about, because you started quite late. You started when Jane and Oscar. That's another thing. Another thing, because you said his name is Oscar, but I was actually going to have him be the actual Edward Nigma. So when he turns up a bit later, he's actually quite old. You're not feeling that?
Well, no, because remember, this is the 80s.
Yeah, I know. So 20 years later, and he's about, 30 here, so he's 50 when he finally encounters Batman.
Okay.
Just because I don't know if there's many, there's not much age variance, I don't think, in Batman's enemies.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah?
Okay.
So it's actually
I'll bow down to you.
What? Do you...
No, fine.
Right, so it is actually the actual Edward Nigma.
Right. Edward and so we're going to completely bypass any idea of her being pregnant now then. To have him as being born.
Well, no.
The actual Edward.
She can still be pregnant.
Yeah, but it won't be.
It won't be him, obviously.
Yeah.
However,
awkward.
Right, because you conceded that to me. Right, we'll start. So yeah, the whole story starts with them being married.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you all that. So married couple, rented the house for 1 year, that's cool. Should we have them work at a comic store instead of the library or the toy store?
Yeah, sure. Fine.
So where they met. So
Alright.
Jane, comic store. Cool. So that's Act 1 done.
Right.
So, Act 2. God, this is a mess. See, it's funny because my gym, obviously, as soon as he saw the tapes, he was like, right, I've got to solve this now. But yours was like, okay, well, this can wait till the morning.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah, but
it's an interesting difference in character.
But it's simply that the only reason I did that is because I thought by the time that finished, it's kind of like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You know,
and so did I. But that's what I thought would make it so. Because it's even though it's so late, he's like.
Well, if you want to, we can do that thing of it being late at night if you like.
I'm not sure if I can because of one reason.
Go on in. Because of the comic book. Still.
Yeah.
Okay.
And something that I want to happen.
Also down to the fact that how are we going to say that, because obviously the comic book store is still operational.
Yeah, so it's quite an old comic book store really, isn't it?
Hmm?
Oh, I don't know actually. What do you mean?
Well, because you say that he takes them, in your original story you said it was they were taking them, he takes Jim to the wherever he used to work, the toy factory, the toy shop.
Yeah.
That's been closed down for a long time.
Yeah, but that's out of it now.
Yeah. So, what do you?
I'll explain in a minute. However,
Okay.
let me think.
You should see the cogs whirring at the moment. It is hilarious.
Because I've got an interesting idea for.
Just remember, you can't drastically change what your story is.
No,
now.
yeah, I'm trying to merge it. I'm not trying to add any new elements, as it were.
You know what I would do? I would do it very much like your store, like your Act 2, but instead of it being the store, like the toy store that you used to work, obviously now the comic book store that you used to work in,
right.
Maybe a kind of almost like a factory, a drug factory kind of thing that belongs to the mob.
What, the comic book store is?
Yeah, no, that they take Jim to. If you want to go down your storyline.
No, right, let me tell you what, here's what my idea is.
Right.
I think we actually mentioned that the comic book store stays open late, is that right?
Yeah.
So this could take place at night.
Okay. But would it be open at like 11 o'clock at night?
We're talking about Gotham City,
but it's possible. All right. I'm just thinking because most places close at like kind of 10 if it's late, unless it's really like 24 hours.
Well, yeah, you do get some like really weird stores in America anyway.
Okay.
Sorry, America.
I'm sure they're not listening. It's fine, mate.
Right. Here's what I'm thinking.
Right.
So this all takes place at night. So Jim watches the tape and he. Oh no, because I need them both. Or do I? Alright, I'm just going to think this through. So this takes place. So Jim watches the tape and he tries to get help, but he can't.
Okay.
So he goes over to the Nigma's place.
Alright.
And there's the whole scene of like it's been ransacked and the basement is empty.
Okay.
And there's a car chase, so it takes them to the neighbourhood of the comic book store, but Jim loses them.
Okay.
But he then recognises that, okay, I know where I am, this is where that comic book store is. And so he goes to check it, and he comes in to find it's open.
Right.
Or maybe it's just closed? No, it's open. Let's have it open.
Okay.
And he comes in and this doesn't work.
Well, do you? Because I'm assuming you want the whole thing with the group of students and everything like that, isn't it?
No. So here's what I'm aiming for. Spoilers.
Right.
Spoilers. But I really liked your idea of shooting the syringe.
Well, how about this then? How about that he does contact instead of once he couldn't raise Tim, he contacted his sergeant, and the sergeant got him and Tim both there, and that's how you get it in.
I don't know because I kind of like it that he's on his own. I like that. It makes it a bit more desperate.
Okay, well, how about that then? How about you do the whole thing of him doing the whole, like I said, you put both of those down. I'll put my gun away. He puts the knife down. Yeah, and then he's going to be as if he's putting the gun away, and he just flicks it up and just shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might work.
That's cool.
And then obviously then he can take him down to the police station.
What about Jane as a hostage?
Would he do that to his wife?
Why not?
Okay, yeah, sure. If it works. I'm just thinking just because if she wants to get away...
This doesn't work because basically what I was going to have is I was going to have this comic book store owner
Yeah.
cover for Enigma, but he's already sold him out anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. Damn it! So how did he know that the evidence came? Oh, because he's been to the police station, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's how we knew.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if they worked it. Sorry, I've got all these ideas, but they're not fitting together.
No, well, try and, I reckon what we should do is, the whole thing of what you've done is about the wife leaving him and everything like that, and then Jim going to save Drew, the comic book guy, and then shooting the syringe out of his hand. Right,
so him meeting Jane, let's just have it at a toy store, screw it. Doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, no, it does, because the toy store's not...
It's not featured, yeah.
Yeah, so what's...
So we just have it at a comic book store?
Yeah, just have it at the comic book store.
Okay. Wow, I didn't even write words then. Right, so... in Act 2, so Jim watches the tape and strikes out on his own, yeah?
Yeah.
Goes to Enigma's house.
Finds it's empty. Other car chase.
Could even have the foot chase then, I suppose.
Well, no, I reckon it's more impactful if it's a car chase. Myself.
Right. So they come through. So he enters in, and yeah. So this comic book owner, comic book store owner, apparently is Drew.
He's Drew.
Is being held at both knife and drug point, apparently.
Yes. Just because I think it shows that without his wife, in many ways, Enigma she kept him on a very even keel, unless she really annoyed him, and without him, he loses all capacity to be even-minded.
Yeah. Should we have some kind of conversation? Like, should we make it so Enigma calls him by name, so it's obvious to Jim that they know each other?
Okay, yeah.
Right, here's what I was going for, basically. So the whole thing unfolds, just like you said, and he shoots a syringe.
Yeah.
But this syringe, whatever's in it, and I'm not sure whether it should be acid or something like that, but basically, Drew gets a dose of it.
No, we're not doing that.
No?
No, because I know exactly what you want to do, and we're not doing that.
What
know you're going down to the Blinking Joker route, and we're not doing that.
Well, I just thought it was just an interesting...
No,
right,
we're not doing that.
Not Joker necessarily,
no,
just anybody.
No.
I just thought
no.
Right, okay.
I have an idea how to introduce the Joker.
Oh, right. He's got an idea.
And we'll do that...
Independent of me.
We'll do that the next time we do a DC episode.
Right. Okay. Alright, bugger it then. Okay, so...
Foot down again on the executive foot down.
Well, good, I'm glad. So, shoots the syringe.
And then he just he arrests Enigma and takes him down to the station.
Right.
Okay? Happy?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Earth Orange. Episode number 7, but number 6. The official proper end of the DC 5 stories so far. Next week there will be an actual Marvel story, and then obviously, like I said, after we've done 5 Marvel stories, then we'll jump between Marvel and DC. So, like I said, just want to say thank you very much for listening to this episode of Earth Orange. If you'd like, you can leave a comment, a subscribe, All the links down to our Patreon and email is down in the description. And as always, I just want to finish this episode with... Oh, actually, no, sorry. Is there anything you would like to say, Mr. Drew?
No, just thank you for joining us for 6 or 7 episodes as it's been.
Like I say,
thanks for putting up with us.
As I always do, at the end of all of my podcasts and episodes of any of my YouTube channels, I'll give you a little salute and say goodbye. Goodbye.
Farewell.